الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Tonight, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to start the first class from Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badr, his book, which is short, to the point, and it's from a series of books that he has. And this book is on the importance of the Quran, being as though the month of Ramadan is the month that the Quran was revealed in. It's the month of the Quran, and it's the month that the Prophet ﷺ would increase in salat and ibadah in general, worship in general. They would increase in salat and qira'at al-Quran. So, as a reminder to myself, firstly, and everybody else, that we read through a book that stresses the importance of the Quran, the book of Allah Jalla wa'ala. And it's called Hablullah al-Mamdud, the rope of Allah, the extended rope of Allah. So, Shaykh Abdul Razak al-Badr, Hafidhahullah, he starts off with the Basmala, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and after praising Allah and sending salams on the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, قال أما بعد فإن حبل الله الممدود هو القرآن الكريم. That the stretch, the rope of Allah, is the Quran. The rope of Allah is considered to be the Quran, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in numerous ahadith. It was mentioned in numerous ahadith, the Sunnah Sahiha al-Thabita عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. فقد روى إمام مسلم في صحيحه من حديث زيد بن أرقم رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: ألا وإني تارك فيكم ثقلين أحدهما كتاب الله عز وجل هو حبل الله من اتبعه كان على الهدى ومن تركه كان على الضلالة. This hadith is in Sahih Muslim, and these are hadith, they're simple and to the point. And these first couple of hadith are to show a proof, the dalil, the proof that the Quran is referred to as the rope of Allah, that the Quran is referred to in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ as the rope of Allah. And it's also mentioned in the Quran, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. And all of you hold firm to the rope of Allah, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and don't be divided. Hold on to the rope of Allah and don't be divided. In this hadith, which is in Sahih Muslim, that the Messenger ﷺ said, أَلَا وَإِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمْ ثَقَلَيْنِ. He stressed that I left two things for you. I left behind two things for you. And then he mentions the two things. أَحَدُهُمَا كِتَابُ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ هُوَ حَبْلُ اللَّهِ. The first thing is the book of Allah, the Quran. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, هُوَ حَبْلُ اللَّهِ. It is the rope of Allah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. It is the rope of Allah Jalla wa'ala. And then he explained, showing the importance of al-ittiba, following. Not just talking, but the importance of implementation, and not just talking. قال عليه الصلاة والسلام, he said, مَنِ اتَّبَعَهُ كَانَ عَلَى الْهُدَى. Whoever follows the Quran, the guidance of the Quran, and this person is upon guidance. This person is upon guidance. This person is upon the correct guidance for whoever follows the Quran. And then he said, وَمَنْ تَرَكَهُ كَانَ عَلَى الضَّلَالَةِ. And whoever leaves off or abandons the Quran, then they are upon misguidance and falsehood. Showing the importance of implementing the ayat, implementing the guidance that we find in the Quran, and that we can't continue talking and not implementing. As the Prophet ﷺ told us in the famous hadith, a portion of the hadith, Al-Quran hujjatan lak aw alayk. And that's a hadith that's mentioned in the other book that we do on Friday. Inshallah, we'll do it with detail on Friday. That the Quran is either a proof for you or a proof against you. Yawm al-Qiyamah. If a person implements the Quran, then on Yawm al-Qiyamah the Quran will be a proof for that person. But if a person doesn't implement the Quran, then the Quran will come Yawm al-Qiyamah and it will be a proof against the person. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah protect us all from the Quran being a proof against us. Which shows we cannot think that it's enough that we collect masahif, that we collect books, that we collect Qur'ans, or that we have Qur'an in our pocket, Qur'an on the phone, Qur'an in the car, that we have a bunch of these books and we're not using them. It could be, and ask Allah to protect us all that, a person could fall under the hadith, Al-Quran hujjatan lak aw alayk. And then he says, وَرَوَى الْإِمَامِ أَحْمَدُ في مسنده من حديث أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه. Imam Ahmad recorded in his Musnad the hadith of Abi Sa'id al-Khudri رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال كتاب الله حبل ممدود من السماء إلى الأرض. In this hadith, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri said that the Messenger ﷺ said, the book of Allah, the Quran, and he described it. The Prophet ﷺ, he described the Quran. He said, Hablun mamdudun. It's an extended rope. It's a rope that extends min as-sama' ila al-ard, from the heavens to the earth. That the Quran is a book, is a rope. It's a rope, he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that extends from the heavens to the earth. And it's another hadith, Rawab ibn Abi Shayba, fi masannifihi. And this hadith is on Shurayh al-Khaza'i, radiyallahu anhu, and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he describes this one with a little more detail, alayhi salatu wasalam. This narration has a little more detail as far as the rope. And he asked him a question. He said, أَلَيْسَ تَشْهَدُونَ أَن لَا إِلَهَ اللَّهِ وَأَنِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. He said to them, don't y'all testify? Didn't y'all take the shahada, say the shahada that there's none worthy of worship except Allah, and that I am the messenger of Allah? This is the Prophet ﷺ talking. And that I am the messenger of Allah. قَالُوا نَعَمْ. They said, yes, we bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and that you are the messenger of Allah. So then the Messenger ﷺ, he said, and he described the Quran, and he described the fact that the Quran is hablun, a rope extended, a rope that is extended from the heavens to the earth. He said, فَإِنَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ سَبَبٌ طَرَفُهُ بِيَدِ اللَّهِ وَطَرَفُهُ بِأَيْدِيكُمْ فَتَمَسَّكُوا بِهِ فَإِنَّكُمْ لَن تُضِلُّوا وَلَن تَهْلِكُوا بَعْدَهُ أَبَدًا. He said, this Quran is a rope, and he said, one end of the rope, طَرَفُهُ بِيَدِ اللَّهِ, one end of the rope is in the hand of Allah. وَطَرَفُهُ بِأَيْدِيكُمْ, and the other end of the rope is in your hands. فَتَمَسَّكُوا بِهِ. So stick to the Quran, hold tight to the Quran. Yani, implement the Quran. Implement the guidance in the Quran. And then he told us the reward for following the guidance of the Quran, which is the most important thing that we implement. Implementation. He said, فَإِنَّكُمْ لَن تُضِلُّوا. He said, you will never go astray. Never. And that word len in Arabic points to never. And he emphasized that at the end, and he said abadan. Len tudillu abadan. He said hold tight to the Quran, stick to the Quran. فَإِنَّكُمْ لَن تُضِلُّوا. You will never go astray. He said وَلَن تَهْلِكُوا بَعْدَهُ أَبَدًا. And you will never be misguided after that, ever. This is not for collecting books. This is for sticking to the guidance found in the Quran. Sticking to the guidance found in the Quran. Implementation, implementing the Quran, acting on the Quran, and not doing what we find, Allahu Musta'an, most of us, that we talk. We do a lot of talking, but the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam in Ramadan, and those narrations from the Sahaba and the Salaf in Ramadan, that they will complete the Quran every 2 days, every 3 days, every 7 days, at least every 10 days, at least 3 times a month they will complete the Quran. They were busy with the Book of Allah. The narration of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, that he completed the Quran 60 times. 60 times in 1 month in Ramadan. 60 times. From Al-Fatiha ila Nas. 60 times. They were busy with 16. They were busy with the Qira'at al-Quran, because they understood the reward for it, and they understood the guidance that was in it, and they understood the importance. They held it to some importance. It was important. And that's for the parents, us, the parents, that we have to be the people who show the kids, instill in our children the importance of reading the Quran, the importance of reading the Quran, of giving the Quran a portion out of our day to read from it and benefit from it. There's no reason that our children shouldn't be Hafiz Quran. There's no real excuse. It's not, we can't keep using the excuse that they don't know Arabic. There's people all over the world who don't speak Arabic, kids all over the world that don't speak Arabic, and they learn to read Arabic, then they learn to read the Quran, and then they finish the Quran. And they don't do it by themselves, that's the point. They don't do it on their own, because of the class, the Quran class is 3 to 4 days a week. You don't have 10-year-olds driving themselves back and forth to class. The parents got to be involved, taking them back and forth to class. The same way we're involved when they want to play basketball and they want to play football. We don't have a problem with that. We good. 3-4 days a week, 3 practices a week, game, 4 days a week, traveling to the game, all that, out of town, the tournaments. We don't have no problem spending money on cleats and gloves and arm sleeves and headbands and chin straps and mouthpieces. Labats, no problem. If we say the Quran class, we got the kids class, how long is the class? 2 hours. I don't know if you can stay that long. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it. If the parents don't instill it in them, then they won't be able to do it. And there's no excuse. We can't keep using the excuse that we're not Arabs. Because the majority of the Muslim world are not Arabs. The majority of the Muslims in the world are not Arabs. It's not an excuse. They learn Arabic. Many of the scholars of the past, they weren't Arabs. It wasn't their first language. They learned Arabic, and Allah raised them. And we've seen it firsthand. I'm talking about people who don't understand Arabic, just like we don't understand Arabic. They come, they sit, they learn. 2 months they read, like Quran, reading. It's not even a joke. Fast. 2 years they finish. 2 years they done. The rest of a lifetime, they have the Quran memorized. And this is from the blessings and the ni'mah of the Quran, that you can't just come and add anything. It's been preserved through him, through memorization. People all over the world memorize the same Quran that we read every day. Same words. From China, Russia, this different Tajikistan, and everywhere you could think of. Africa. All Africans, their language is not Arabic. They have to learn it just like we got to learn it. But if the parents, if we don't put forth the effort to show that it's serious, it's some ajr, it's reward. The Quran is a serious book. It's not just another book on the shelf. If we don't do it, then we can't really be mad at them when they reach the age and they're not really interested anymore. Tayyib, there's another hadith. Or he says after that, هذا حبل ممدود قد أنزله الله تبارك وتعالى هداية للبشر والصلاح للناس والذكرى للمؤمنين وشفاء لما في الصدور وضياء والنورا وبركة لمن كان من أهله. And he's now giving some descriptions on what the Quran is supposed to be, how it is supposed to affect us. How is the Quran supposed to affect us? So he says that the Quran was revealed. The Quran was revealed, number one, hidayatan lil bashar, as a source of guidance for mankind, not just for the Muslims, guidance for mankind. And this is a book of guidance. It's not only restricted that it's only guidance for the Muslims, but it's guidance for humans. Number one. So it's not enough that we decorate the walls. Ayat on the walls, ayat kursi hanging on the wall. That's not. What benefit is it if it's on our wall in our house, and the meanings contained in ayat kursi, if we got it hanging on the wall and we're not implementing the meanings that are contained in it, what benefit is it to us in the household? We could be going totally against the ayat. Even though we might have it written on our shirt, it's written on the hat, that is secondary. That we got to make sure that we implement it first, so that we don't fall under the hadith. Al-Quran, hujjatan lak wa alayk. The Quran is either proof for you or against you. Number one, that is guidance for mankind. He says, number two, was-salahan lin-nas, and it's a correction, it's a form of correcting the people. If a person reads the Quran, and ponders over the meanings, and ponders over what Allah is commanding us with and telling us to stay away from, then a person will be able to correct, number one, their aqeedah, their belief on how to believe in Allah. Number two, they'll be able to correct their behavior. How are we supposed to behave as Muslims? Or what are we supposed to do? What are we not supposed to do? We'll be able to correct our behavior. He says, number three, وَذِكْرَى لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and it's a reminder. The Quran is supposed to be a reminder for the believers. Not that we get upset when somebody reminds us with an ayat. Somebody say, Akhi, fear Allah. Fear Allah, you know Allah said in the Quran this. We turn around and say, come on, you overboard with that. You overboard with the ayat, it's the Quran. We Muslim, our book is a book of guidance. If we don't use it, then we should fear falling under that hadith, that the Quran is either going to be a proof for us or against us, Yawm al-Qiyamah. He said it should be a reminder for the believers. The reminder benefits the believer. When we fall short, that we're supposed to remind each other. We ain't supposed to not scream on each other, not embarrass people in the street. Right? You're supposed to remind your brother, remind your sister, yo, you out of pocket. Yo, fear Allah, it's Ramadan. A reminder, not a bashing session. That we see somebody, we think we're doing better than them, so now we go in on them when we bash them. It's supposed to be a reminder. He says, وَشِفَاءً. Number four, شِفَاءً لِمَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. And it's a cure. It's a cure for the sicknesses that are in the hearts, for the sicknesses that we have in our hearts. Sicknesses like jealousy, being jealous of one another for things that are we won't take them to the grave with us. Number one, the time is limited. That the time is limited, but we take them, jealous of people over something from the dunya that neither one of us can take to the grave. That when they wrap us and shroud us and make wudu and make a ghusl for us and wrap us and put us in the grave, none of us coming with us. We go in there with sheets and everything else stays. And we take those things, whether it be cars, whether it be women. Sometimes we're mad because he got to marry her and I didn't get to marry her. She's mad because she got to marry him and she didn't get to marry him. and he won't marry her. And we take them and we use them, and we end up hating each other and splitting and dividing over stuff that we can't take with us anyway. It's supposed to be, he says, shifa'an lima fi sudur, a cure for those sicknesses in the heart. And it's not restricted to those sicknesses of the dunya, as Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said in Dawud Dawah, that he used to read the Quran on himself to cure himself from physical sickness. From physical sickness. And if a person has a specific sickness, as Shaykh Abdul Razak said, if a person has a specific fitna that they're dealing with, that they should read the Quran on themselves. Should read it on yourself. So if they have a problem with backbiting, if a person has a problem with backbiting, then they should constantly repeat the ayat, read the ayat over and over and over about backbiting in the Quran. Would you like to eat the dead flesh of your brother? And a person reads the ayat over and over and over and over and over and over and over. You imagine hearing that ayat, you saying, not hearing it, you saying that ayat 100 times, 200 times. When it comes to backbiting, you're going to be a little more conscious to like, oh, that's what the ayat was talking about. It should be a cure for the sicknesses in the heart. He says, with diya'an wa nura, and a means of guidance and light that is supposed to be something that we use to better ourselves. Not something that we use to degrade people. Not something that we use to hang over people. Because I know this one and you don't know it. It's supposed to be a means of light and guidance. And it should be seen in our actions. It should be seen in our actions. And that's why, and I like to mention this all the time because it's the example that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam left for us, and that the Sahaba left for us, that when they went during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they would travel and do business with people, and the people wanted to know why the Muslims behave like they behave. And they would tell them we're Muslims. That's what we've been taught to do. It's not because it's not something that we made up. This is what our Lord instructed us to do. This is how we're supposed to behave. This is how we're supposed to do business. Therefore, this is how we do business. So what is your belief? What is your belief? Well, we're Muslims. What is a Muslim? And then they would tell them certain things. And a lot of times, and these are in the books of the seerah of the Prophet, the biography of the Prophet, say something. A lot of times, they would just read ayat from the Quran. They would read ayat from the Quran. They would read the Quran to them, showing the importance and the level of the Quran. It's not just a book that we just pick up, sit down, and pick up and sit down. That is something, we gotta have respect for the Quran. And respect is not just sitting it up high, wrapping it up in towels and sitting in high places and not touching it. All that's good, but the ultimate respect is implementing. That's the ultimate respect. Implement the Quran. He says, وَبَرَكَةً لِمَنْ كَانَ مِنْ أَهْلِهِ, and it is a blessing for the people who follow the book. It is a blessing for the people who follow the Quran. قال تعالى, Allah said in Surah Saad, ayat 29, كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ إِلَيْكَ مُبَارَكٌ لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ. The book that we revealed, a blessing, the blessed book that we revealed in order for you to ponder, reflect, and think. Think about the ayat. Think about the meanings of the Quran, what we're supposed to do, what we're not supposed to do. Allah said in another ayat, وَقَالَ جَلَّ وَعَلَى إِنَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ يَهْدِي لِلَّتِي هِيَ أَقْوَمُ وَيُبَشِّرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ الَّذِينَ يَعْمَلُونَ الصَّالِحَاتِ أَنَّ لَهُمْ أَجْرًا كَبِيرًا. In Surah Al-Isra, ayat 9, where Allah said that indeed this Quran guides to what is most correct, what is most right, what is most just. And in Tafsir it says the most correct with regards to the belief, the aqidah. The Quran guides to the correct aqidah. But adab and behavior, the Quran guides us to how we're supposed to behave. Allah said in another ayat, قال تعالى وَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ نُورٌ وَكِتَابٌ مُبِينٌ. And a book came to you from Allah, نُورٌ وَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ. And from Allah came to you, number one, Allah mentioned two things that came from Allah. Number one, nurun, a light. And then the tafsir says, meaning the Prophet ﷺ. وَكِتَابٌ مُبِينٌ, in the Quran, a clear Quran. And when we see that word mubin, clear, because in Arabic, the stuff is clear. The meaning of the ayat and the meaning of the wording, a lot of it is clear. There's nothing like hearing it. There's nothing like hearing it the way it was revealed. There's nothing like hearing it the way it was revealed. There's nothing like hearing the Quran the way that the Messenger ﷺ heard the Quran from Jibreel ﷺ. There's nothing like it. And that's an encouragement to learn Arabic, and for us not to be deceived and tricked by the shaitan to thinking that we can't do it. It's a trick from the shaitan, that he tricks us and deceives us to thinking that it's too much. I'm too old. I don't have enough time. I gotta go to work. There's too many family problems. It's always something. And at the end of the day, if he can get us to not to do it, then he won. He won that battle. Nothing like hearing the Quran as Allah revealed it. He said here, وَكِتَابٌ مُبِينٌ, a clear book. And he says, وَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى إِلَى عِبَادِهِ لِيَكُونَ مِنْهَجًا لَهُمْ فِي حَيَاتِهِمْ وَفِي أَخْلَاقِهِمْ وَفِي آدَابِهِمْ وَفِي مُعَامَلَاتِهِمْ وَفِي تَعَبُّدِهِمْ وتقربهم إلى الله. ولهذا لما سئلت أم المؤمنين عائشة رضي الله عنها عن خلق نبينا عليه الصلاة والسلام قالت كان خلقه القرآن. He said Allah revealed this book for numerous reasons. And this shows that it's not just, the Quran is not for decoration. It's not like, they got the Bible and this is our book. That's it. That is guidance. He said Allah revealed the Quran to his slaves so that it is used as a minhaj, so that they use it as a path, a way in their lives. It's supposed to be used in their lives as a means of guidance. Number one. He says number two, and that they use it in their lives, fi akhlaqihim, and that they use it in their lives in order to determine how does the Muslim behave. Adab. The character of the Muslim. What are we supposed to be doing? What are we not supposed to be doing? How do we behave in public? How are we not supposed to behave in public? How we behave with our wives? How we don't behave with our wives? How do wives supposed to behave with their husbands? How do parents behave with their children? It's supposed to be used in all aspects. It says, أَخْلَاقِهِمْ وَفِي آدَابِهِمْ وَفِي مُعَامَلَاتِهِمْ, and in their dealings, dealing with people, not just business transactions, that's included, but how do you deal with people that are older than you? How do we deal with people that are younger than us? How do we deal with the non-Muslims? How do we deal with the non-Muslims? We say they all kuffar, they don't get no respect. That's not what the Prophet ﷺ did. How do we deal with the non-Muslims? He didn't treat them like that. You don't find that in the seerah. But we find in the seerah, the biography of the Prophet ﷺ, that even when they would harm him, even when that Jew that would put thorns in front of his door in order to prick his feet when he walked outside, that he still dealt with them kind and just. And it's supposed to, this is the example, Ahl Sunnah. Ahl Sunnah, people who say they love the Sunnah, this is our example. Our example is not Fulan, who studied for such amount of years, and he's the sheikh, and this is for brother who studied, he was here, and he prays here. That's not the gauge that, unfortunately, we've lost. It's like we forgot what the gauge was. The gauge is the Quran and the Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ. The gauge is not anybody other than that. And that's why Sheikh Salih Ali Sheikh, he said one time, if you read in some of the biographies of the Salaf, big imams, big time imams, you'll find that they had some deficiencies. They fell short. They fell short. Sometimes you might be reading, you got to turn back to make sure it's the same person. So he said, what? From what I know, that's a person say that where I'm from. Who said that? Sufyan al-Thawri said, what? If a person was to say that today, he off it. He ain't on the hop, don't pray behind him. Sometimes you got to turn back and make sure it's the same person. It's the same person, but what? People human, we human. Head to the ulama, the scholars, they're human. They might make a mistake. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, everybody's statement is accepted and rejected except for the one in that grave. I'm sorry, not the Prophet ﷺ. Imam Malik, rahimahullah. Imam Malik, rahimahullah. Khalas? Everybody's statement is accepted. Khalas? Like, we'll stop there because it's time to break, inshallah. It's almost time to break. But it's time to break. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. What does it say?
معلش